Hi there, Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to a special edition of Richard's Rock Rambles. Today I'm just going to pay a very short tribute to one of the greats of the rock world who unfortunately passed away yesterday at the age of 65. I'm of course talking about Eddie Van Halen, one of the true iconic rock guitarists. He took the guitar to a whole new place. And I think he's probably in the top five along with Hendrix, definitely. They both were innovators and they both had legendary status. So, passed away at the age of 65 after a lengthy battle with cancer. Um, he had been ill for some time, I think, but there were sort of conflicting reports as to he was getting better, he wasn't getting better, things weren't going so great. And then finally, yesterday, we heard the sad news that he had passed away. Um, he came across from the Netherlands at a young age with his family, with his brother Alex. In the early days, in fact, Eddie was playing drums and Alex was playing guitar. And eventually they swapped around just as well and went on to form the band Van Halen. The debut album came out in 1978, probably one of the best debut albums of all time. And I think when people heard that album, they knew this guy was something special. The whole band was good, but Eddie Van Halen's guitar work is what just brought that album up to a different level. Blessed with a great front man in David Lee Roth, rock solid rhythm section, Michael Anthony on bass, and Alex Van Halen on drums. And they went on to have a stellar career. Couple of lineup changes along the way, but for me, those first four or five or six albums, classic Van Halen, essential purchases, especially if you're into great guitar work. Not only could he play blistering lead guitar work, he was a great rhythm guitarist as well, had some amazing riffs, and they started out, one of their first tours, I think, was supporting Black Sabbath, who at that stage were on a downward spiral due to drugs and drink and what have you, and unhappiness within the band. And here were these new guys on the block, supported Black Sabbath, and pretty much stole the show every night. Sabbath had to work really hard with those guys opening for them. So I'm just going to quickly run through the albums, the notable albums of Van Halen, the ones to look out for if you don't already have. You should have. The debut, simply titled Van Halen. There's not a bad track on here. Running with the Devil, Eruption, that fantastic lead, instrumentals, solo guitar extravaganza from Eddie Van Halen. And I remember when I first heard that track, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I thought to myself, what is this guy doing? And I think for a lot of aspiring guitarists, when they heard that, that sort of gave them another boost. This is the way it's got to be. They took the Kinks, You Really Got Me, and gave it a whole new breath of life. Ain't Talking About Love, I'm the One, Jamie's Crying, I think that was also a single off this album. Atomic Punk, some incredible guitar work on there. Feel Your Love Tonight, Little Dreamer, Ice Cream Man, which is a cool track, and On Fire. Really, this, as far as debut albums go, you don't get better than this. Probably for me, only surpassed by maybe the first Led Zeppelin album. So that was their introduction to the rock world and to the public. Quite an introduction. Then we move on to Van Halen 2. This one had a slight more of a party feel to it than the first one, although that one also had a real upbeat feel. This one was more of a party feel, I think. Spanish Fly was on here, which is a great acoustic instrumental, amazing on the acoustic guitar as well as the electric Eddie. Woman in Love, Beautiful Girls, You're No Good, Dance the Night Away. I think that was a single of here as well. Then we moved on to Women and Children First, where they were going to a slightly heavier direction. And The Cradle Will Rock, that was a great track. Everybody Wants Some, real great riff in that track. Fools, another one. Take Your Whiskey Home, which has an acoustic beginning, and then they really let rip in the track. So that was another great album. And my favorite's coming up now. It's a really dark album, very angry album, but I just love the energy in this album, and that's the one called Fair Warning, with that quite interesting cover. Mean Street, Dirty Movies, Sinners Swing, Hear About It Later, Unchained, which is an amazing track. Great guitar tone on that track. Push Comes to Shove, So This Is Love, Sunday Afternoon in the Park, and One Foot Out the Door. Another album where there is not a bad track. Stunning stuff. If you really want to wake up the neighbors, I'd put this one on and crank it. They'll enjoy it as much as you do. Then we go on to the one that I have on vinyl, the one called Diver Down. That's the album there, and there's a picture of the guys at the back with a massive audience. Big drum kit of Alex Van Halen's there, and Eddie doing his thing up top, and Michael Anthony, and the bottom David Lee Roth. Oh well, you can see that, that's David Lee Roth there. This album for me was a bit of a disappointment. There were quite a few covers on here. Pretty Woman, Hang 'em High was on here. Where Have All the Good Times Gone? That was another cover. This album actually featured Alex and Eddie's dad on clarinet, which sort of keeping it in the family. So that was Diver Down. And then the last album to feature, this was a huge album for them, a lot of hits. Last album to feature David Lee Roth, 1984. The massive hit off here was Jump, not one of my favorite Van Halen tracks, very commercial. They started using keyboards, introduction of keyboards, and that song starts off with this sort of synth sound, and then it goes into the track. Panama, that was a good hit off here. Drop Dead Legs. Hot for Teacher, that's a real rocker, full-on rocker, that's a good track. And House of Pain was another good track there. The guys at the back, hair nicely blown there with David Lee Roth, Ever the Showman. Then they went on to do a couple of albums with Sammy Hagar, and that was a pretty good fit. 5150, the album that came out after that, that was a number one hit for Van Halen. That did really well. And I think they did couple more, another 3 or 4 with Sammy Hagar. They did one ill-fated album with Gary Sharon from Extreme, which just bombed. That just didn't work. And in later years, they came back with David Lee Roth. And in fact, I think this was 2012, if memory serves, around there. And the album was called A Different Kind of Truth. So they got the original singer back. They didn't have Michael Anthony, unfortunately. He had a fallout with the guys in the band, and there was some bad blood. So they actually had Eddie Van Halen's son, Wolfgang, on bass, who played pretty well on this album, and he went on a subsequent tour with them. So quite big shoes to step into there. Michael Anthony being a great bass player, and Michael Anthony also had great backing vocals, really high-pitched stuff, which I think you miss on this album. The early stuff you can hear, the nice blending of the high vocals with David Lee Roth's singing. I mean, David Lee Roth was never the greatest vocalist in the world, but he was such a great showman, and then that's what really made them in the beginning. So that was the comeback album. Tour didn't last long after that. There's also a best of, volume 1, which I have, which has all the big hits, Unchained, Jump, Panama, and I think there were a few tracks on here, Humans Being, Can't Get the Stuff No More, and Me, Wise Magic, which were new tracks, especially recorded for this compilation. So there we have it. Another one gone. Eddie Van Halen, unfortunately, no longer with us. And as I said, along with Hendrix, he was one of the most inspiring and innovative rock guitarists of all time. A great guy from all accounts to be around. Always had a big smile on his face. Was great on stage. Was not a static player. He would run all over the place, jump, and he had to do all sorts of things to keep up with David Lee Roth, who of course was like an energizer buddy on stage. So yeah, sad loss, and this year has been bad for guys leaving us. Lee Kerslake was recently, Pete Way from UFO. The list goes on and on and on. But I suppose we getting to that generation now. We're going to start dying out the guys in their late 60s and early 70s, and those that had interesting pasts, shall we say, are starting to catch up with them. And hopefully before this year is out, we don't lose too many more. So that was just a short tribute for Eddie Van Halen, one of the true greats in the rock history. So I hope you guys take care. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.